Joining me today is Ola Morin. He's an agile specialist and coach. He's worked with a number of large organizations, particularly at Saab and IKEA, and he's got some really interesting insights around the issue of changing organizations, transforming organizations, working with leadership, and agile transformation. So. Ula, without much further ado, welcome to the Caring Growth podcast. And first, tell us just a little bit about your own your background. I mean, tell us a bit about your career. How did you get to do what you do now?
Thanks for letting me be here. Well, as you said, my name is Ola Morin, and I'm working as an agile coach, and I have been since. I think it's like almost 20 years now. I have been working with mostly larger organizations and transformations, and we have a lot of thought about how to actually make them to work, because it is really hard thing to change the way people behave and to get that to work. Can be frustrating sometimes, but I think there's a lot to talk about on that subject. I think I started as a programmer, creating test cases or automatic test cases for a verification product we had. So what we did was creating automated tests for validating the platform we had actually. And I was introduced to Scrum when I worked there. So I think that is where I got the Agile track, when I started the Agile track, so to say. And after a couple of years, I decided to move away from being more of a developer in that. So I moved over to actually trying to help organizations with the transformation in Agile. Sorry. And on that track it is, more or less.
Okay. So in thinking back on your career, what makes big transformations succeed, and let's first about what makes them fail. Let's talk about what makes them fail, if you've seen anyone fail.
Yeah, I think there's always some kind of failure and hopefully some learnings from it as well. But I think when you, and I think that goes for almost all the transformations, the timing is one of the things that most of the companies actually think it will be done much quicker than it actually is. I mean, getting to get people to change for deeply inside of them, it really takes time, and often the companies think that it's a quick fix to just send it out and present how to deal with it and then go from there. But it's really not that at all. So, and also it requires a lot of more communication, and I think you also need to put the goals. What do you actually need to or why are you actually doing it? And I think you often have issues with focusing on the higher goals, so to say. And I mean, being agile it's not, it doesn't help just being agile. It's the purpose behind it. So, and I think that is what you want to understand. Why do we need to change, and the reason for it, so to say.
So what is the goal behind Agile?
I would say that the goal is to help the organization, or to get the organization to help the customers faster and in a better way. Okay. Yeah. So I think that would be main thing about it.
Right.
And of course,
right.
doing it in a way that is sustainable for the organization as well.
And you suggest that very often these agile interventions go wrong because people don't really get that, or they don't make enough put enough emphasis on that.
No, I mean, like communicating visions and so on. You can never over communicate a vision, so to say. So to get people to actually have it on their mind all the time. But it is one thing when often I think that companies, when they get the idea that everybody else is doing a transformation, they really want to be a part of it, of that transformation or part of that movement itself. And they don't really think about what they actually want to achieve with it. So it's more like following the herd when it comes to the agile transformations. And I think that is one of the reasons why safe and scaled agile framework has been so successful, because they were quite fast to getting a quite big market, and then they started communicating about the companies that did that change, and then a lot of new other companies actually go that direction as well, saying that, well, if they did it, then we can help out as well. So,
right.
And I think that's a little bit of a pity, because it doesn't really. I mean, one size doesn't fit all companies, so you really have to adapt and adjust what should be the from the context within this organization. What do we need to do to change that, so to say? And that is totally different between the organizations, of course.
So what are the variables you'd look out for?
Well, I think one of the first things, often when I get into the new assignments and so on, I'm trying to just observe and see what is happening, what is going on, how are they behaving, and what are the things they talk about, and how do they talk about things. So I can get a feeling about the culture or the how the organization is working today, so to say. And then from that point, I try to look at, for example, how they use communicating with goals, how they do all that kind of stuff, how they follow up on those kind of things, and try to shift it from where they are, and not starting too big, so to say. I think that is one of the keys of making small changes all the time. And I think that is one of the things when doing large implementations. Often you think that when you change and say that you start the transformation, you see that as some kind of end goal, because you do a lot of work before you actually say that now we will start with this new thing. So they see that as some kind of end goal instead of being the starting point for something new. And starting something new takes time. I mean, it's not a sprint. It's a marathon, more or less.
Yeah, I think that must be right. I mean, so some of the more dramatic failures in large interventions that I've seen, a lot of effort goes into the launch, and a lot of effort goes into the design of everything. New processes. It might even come with new marketing material, new logo, new everything. And on day one, there's this big fanfare. Maybe in a hotel in the courtyard of the company with balloons and drumming and yeah. And then day two, well, actually, it's the same business. Nothing has changed. So it's that is right. I mean, I think that's very often big transformations fail because there's too much emphasis put into almost the cosmetics, the launch, and and not very little understanding that this is an incremental journey and that it's long term. In terms of the long term, how long the term though, Ola? I mean, how long does it take to change an organization?
It's totally dependent on how willing they are to do it as well, and the ambition. But I've been to places where they, like, before they actually start, they spend like over a year just thinking about how the start would be. What are they going to do? What are they going to change? And I think that doesn't really make sense at all. It's much better to start and to move from that point, so to say. But I would say if you really want something to change, I think it never ends actually.
Yeah.
So you get some kind of benefits from the first part of the transformation, but when you come to a certain point, then it's more embedded in the actual work. So it's not really transformation. It's more like adapting to the current environment and get the organization to change and be able to adjust to fit the environment and the products they do and all of that kind of stuff. So I think the first half year is more or less from trying to get going and to change to the new thing, and then from that point you can actually decide on how to change forward. But the first part is getting everybody to understand it, get common ground, and understand what it means. We often talk a lot about the agile values and the how to think when you do a lot of the work that you do in the company, but also trying to observe if it's actually what they say or they just saying it, and when they actually working they do totally different. Because that is quite often that we see that it's one thing to sit down and talk to someone and agreeing on the values and principles and so, but when it comes to being in the operative environment, it's easy to forget about those things and fall back into the old habits, so to say.
So at least 6 months spent on getting buy-in, and then an incremental kind of application. And specifically, I mean, if you're talking agile, what is the kind of behavior you're trying to cultivate? Give us an Ola canned version of agile. What is this thing?
Yeah, being agile is about I would say that to make sure that we do do the best of the ability we have, and solve problems that we know the customers or the organization is having. So I mean, we need to verify that the things we're working with is the correct things. We often in Sweden we talk about we have one word for efficiency and effectiveness, for example, and that kind of makes it confusing as well, because when we talk about effectiveness, we talk about doing the right things, and when we talk about efficiency, we talk about doing the things right. So, and agile really needs to focus on the effectiveness. So what we're doing the things that actually matters. I think that is to the customers and to the organizations we're delivering to.
And how would teams establish that? How does a team know it's doing what the customer requires?
Yeah, that is the hard thing, because there we need to take into account a lot of. I mean, even if we try to get the interviewing the customer and getting the things, and not only what they say, but the intention, what they need, and not what they think they need. But also by using data, for example, saying that, well, this is used, and how can we improve that kind of thing. So it's a lot of more to be data driven, and to actually getting out of the office and trying to understand what is it that they actually are required from us. What do we need to help them with, so to say.
Right.
And that is, it's easy to say, but it's really, really hard to get a behavior of identifying everything from the inside, to actually switch that over and saying that, well, we want your feedback to be able to make better products and so on. So it's kind of shift from being looking from inside the company, and to actually get from the other point of view, that when you take the information from the outside and taking it in, and
Right.
and doing the analysis, and deciding what to do based on not only feelings, but based on the customers' responses, and what do we want them to or what they want us to achieve.
So tell us some success. Have you ever seen any of these interventions really make a change? An example?
On big organizations, I think
Yeah.
it's really hard to do that. I mean, one of the things that I really like the more networking part of organizations, making it, I mean, not using hierarchical organizations, let's say. But I think it is the starting point when you start from the starting to engage with the customer. They often thinking about what kind of things we are going to do, and it takes quite a lot of time to they actually change that, and getting the input from the customers. But it is possible, but it takes a long time, and you need the correct people from the product side, and the leaders, to actually being able to saying that we do not have the answers to all of these kind of stuff, but we can go and figure out with the help of the customers, and the our stakeholders, or whatever it could be. But it's really hard, and a lot of companies, it takes a lot of time before they actually make that shift, because it is a big thing to actually change. But I've seen it working in some companies where they're focusing more on the customer, because that is one of the things with the Agile principles. I mean, customers are the ones we're working for, but we need to take that into account. What are they asking for? What problems do they have that we can solve, so to say? But that is hard. The bigger the organization, I think it's the harder it is to make that shift to looking from the outside view, so to say.
Is that because it's just, if the organization is smaller, it's clearer to be precise about who your customer is and actually have an engagement with your customer?
Yeah, I think so. I think it has with the, and also the larger organizations, they are they are harder to it's harder to show everything that is actually ongoing, so to say. I mean, it's easier for them not to doing the things that are important, because they have a lot of other parts of the organization that can contribute to the success anyway. But if you have a smaller organization, it is really more that you're more engaged in the actual delivery of the product and the result for the company. And I think you shouldn't underestimate that. To feel that you are a part of the result for the company, for example.
So I assume you're the doctor, the specialist, and I'm just a country doctor with a very difficult patient. I'm going to describe the patient for you, and I want you to give me a prognosis. Will this intervention succeed or fail? It's a deep level platinum mine in South Africa. It's one of the largest in the world. It employs 40,000 people. Very command and control. Because that's the way in which deep level mining has always happened. Very hierarchical. Also, the idea of a client is very diffuse because they produce a commodity which is traded on the international market. The principal users of the commodity was mainly industrial actions for auto catalysts. A guy going underground in a country town in South Africa has very little idea of commodity trade in Japan, who's trading with his stuff. So the idea of the client and the customer is very diffuse. I mean, despite the fact that platinum is just about, every single car on the planet today uses platinum, but I mean, that doesn't occur to people. So we have been tasked to affect a change in the climate of the organization or in the culture of the organization, from being less command and control to being more collaborative. Can this succeed?
Depending on how long time they actually think that it can take. But I think it's really, really hard to get that change in a quick way, so to say. Because then you're talking about the culture in South Africa, how the people are. I mean, the culture from the people and the company there, and also the kind of the culture working with those kind of mining companies. I guess that is not really as collaborative as we would like to discuss when we talk about agile collaboration. So, but I still think there's of course things that can be better, but it will take longer time since it's more things that are against you in the like collaborative way of living and the working environment and what kind of the rules they have in the company and so on. So it will be harder to and probably you will never get to the extreme of being a true agile company, because the industry itself is more like more contract negotiation than customer collaboration, so to say. But of course there are wins to find there as well from the people and the company, but maybe it's not that dream world that you would like it to be in, because that would probably take a lot more. I mean, changing the industry would probably take a really long time. I mean,
and also, I mean, the industry, but you mine a resource and a resource gets depleted. So there's all of these operations have there's a ceiling on their life. I mean, there's a thing called the life of mine. Quite literally, it's when you run out of the resource you're mining. The two shafts with the longest lifespan in that particular operation have got maybe another 30 years to go. A lot of them are slated for closure within 5 years. So that's also difficult. But if one took it on incrementally, I'm assuming. I mean, then you can do change must always be possible as long as the step's small enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But and depending on how long time you actually get to fulfill those kind of small steps, because the less resistance you have from and it's not only from the people and the organization, it's from outside as well. I mean, in that case, the industry itself is one big hurdle that you need to, and you can't change it, but you probably need to adapt to it in some way. And of course, you can try to influence them and so on, but that kind of change will take much more time, and not even sure if it's doable within the lifespan of a mine, so to say. But I think there's always wins that you can have from collaboration, I would say.
Right.
But it kind of, maybe you also need to understand that it's the aim that you're looking for might be a lot smaller compared where you are today. Even if it's, I mean, you will not get that kind of work to be truly agile from the start. Maybe if you started a new mining company, it would be different.
Yeah.
I mean, taking for Tesla as an example, that they started from the ground doing something totally different with a totally new point of view, and then you can actually slowly change the industry as well. But when you have the legacy of one thing, it's really hard to change it if you're not doing it totally shift on it, so to say. And I think Tesla, when you're looking at that, they are leading provider in electrical vehicles now. But the question is, I mean, they have been around for more longer time than most people actually know about Tesla, so to say. Yeah. So I mean, it's not that they have come from the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because there's more work behind it before they actually got to that tipping point when people actually started to look at it. But I looked a little bit about Joe Justice is one of the agile gurus that have been working with the Tesla companies or the Musk companies, SpaceX and those kind of things, and they really do it totally different. But that is from the start. I mean, that is in the when you actually try to get into a company like a Musk company, it's stated clearly from the beginning that this is not for everyone. This is a totally different thing that you're used to.
Right.
And if you like that, you can come and learn a lot about it.
Right.
But if you're a person that you want to work in a traditional company, you shouldn't even think about it, so to say, because it's so kind of different meaning to it.
So Musk, his approach to business is agile.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but and he have a totally different view on it. So there's more things that he does that is totally out of the box than inside of the box, let's say.
Let's go to Mars.
Yeah. But I think that would, looking from the agile point of view, it kind of appealing because it is really taking it to the extreme. As an example, in a lot of companies, the software companies in Sweden, we use pair programming and mob programming to in a team to actually make it a better product and a quicker and more quality, so to say. And they do the same with their kind of work, but they don't have teams that are decided upon, and so people can actually decide what kind of work they want to do, and then they do that kind of work in smaller mobs to actually help each other out, and one do the work and other are looking and trying to discuss what to do and so on, and then they shift all around. So they have like a couple of people that is actually doing the work. Only one is actually doing the actual work, but the other ones are standing behind and talking and looking and discussing how to proceed. So they do it as a team, but they change the driver in the car, so to say, from time to time. So everybody learns. You learn like everything from everyone, and get all of that kind of positive engagement, looking from a different perspective and using the different competences that they have. And I think that is quite unique when you're looking at from the traditional big companies, so to say.
So they actually manufacture cars like that.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, you can look at Joe Justice. He is one of the. You have a lot of YouTube videos and so on that they can
George
visit.
Justice.
Joe Justice.
Joe Justice. Joe Justice. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's really, really cool.
Yeah,
because they have a different stations every day that you can decide on which one you want to contribute to today. And then when they work at those stations, they use that kind of mobbing to get the work done, so to say. And I think it's a thing that we, as agile coaches in software industry, we try to help the teams to create better products in one way. But often when we suggest that they do it together, they get the feeling that, spending so much time on one thing, I mean, with the whole team working on one thing, and then we need to discuss to them the benefits of it. I mean, we get much more knowledge sharing, we get better quality because we have more people looking and so on. So I think the benefit is far better than what you actually think it is. But I think it's you need to have the guts to actually try it out, because that is what you need to see. You need to see the results to actually understand it. It's like when you're having discussions about flow. I mean, how do we manage a huge organization when it comes to what they're delivering? We usually talk about flow, that we shouldn't start everything at the same time. So we start a few things, we complete those, and when we complete those, we pull new stuff in. So we want to have a pull system instead of a push system, so to say. But it's not very easy to understand that even if we have one thing that we could start, if we wait to start that, it will actually be done faster. And if we start it right now, and that is not something you can. It is
that's
really not
counterintuitive.
an easy thing. Yeah, it is. And I think that is what you have to experience and see it for yourself, and then you can start thinking about it.
So have you ever personally worked in a team where Agile was working? And have you ever had that experience, sort of not as a consultant, but actually as a member of a team?
I think when we started the work with Scrum for a long time ago, we did it for a couple of years, and then we'd start to work after a while, of course. In the beginning, it was really hard. It was always it was hard to change over to the new stuff, because it is a little bit different mentality that we had. But it was working, but it's not working from day one. And I would say from my experience, then when we are doing transformations in larger organizations, I would say that it takes probably 6 to 9 months from that you start with one team until they actually get an understanding of it. They're not the best at it, but they get by in a good way. But then it takes, depending on how far you want to take. And I think that is also one thing that we not really talk about, because the ambition of being truly agile, it comes with quite a high cost of being truly agile. It takes a lot of time to actually get that to work. You need to focus on sharing, knowledge sharing, continuous improvement, all those kind of things. So there is a high cost of that, and every team doesn't need to be truly agile, so to say. They could get by just it works, and we're happy we're delivering what we want to the customers. The customers are delighted. We don't need to take that extra mile to be all that kind of truly agile, so to say. But that often you don't talk about. So you often get the feeling that all the teams should be the same. And I think that is one of the things that are, it would cost too much if everyone got to be really, really high performing agile teams, so to say.
Well, this was a fantastically insightful chat. Thank you very much. And I hope that we have an opportunity to pick this up again in the future.
Oh yes, there's a lot of things to talk about.
Right. Thanks for your input, and we'll chat again soon.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Take care.
Yeah.
Bye.